All right, I managed to nab the new ride today, so I'm in the wife's car. I have a project I got to work out. I had a little problem the last snowplow bout. I took out a neighbor's mailbox. Well, not completely. I mean, I smashed up the mailbox. The post is perfectly fine. It was like a steel post. There was no taking that out. But I crunched up the mailbox really good. And this is actually, not only was it the next door neighbor of the customer who I was working on, but they've actually hired me to do work in the past. So I kind of want to keep in good with them. Regardless, this is the right thing to do, is to go ahead and I'm going to replace the mailbox. This is the right thing to do no matter what the situation, whether they were a former customer or not. You don't want to make enemies with the next door neighbors and get a bad name that way, because that's going to reflect poorly on you with that customer. So I actually had the information of that neighbor, and so I emailed them and said, hey, I'll be able to go ahead and I'll go ahead and replace that and get you a new mailbox tomorrow. And so it's tomorrow, and that's what I'm doing. Even though my phone says 9 degrees, temperature on the car says 10 degrees, so I may have warmed up 1 degree. And this is Fahrenheit, by the way. So if you're into the centigrade, is it centigrade or Celsius? Is that like a regional thing? Centigrade or Celsius? Like, soda or pop or Coke is in the U.S.? I don't know. It says 10 degree, or so 10 degrees Fahrenheit. But if you're dealing with centigrade, that's like what, like negative 17 or something degrees. If it's like about 9, I think I looked up 7 degrees and it said like it was negative 14. So yeah, it's probably around negative 17 or so centigrade. But anyways, I'm over here at the depot, the Home Depot, and I'm going to go pick up a mailbox. So the one thing I didn't think about doing was checking the size of the mailbox. I'm going to go with the medium size because that's usually, I think, the standard size. If not, I'll have to come back and return that and buy a new one. But hopefully it's a medium. We'll find out. So I know I can get these cheaper at Menards, but I got it at Menards. I have the one at my house is almost identical. I got it from Menards, and I don't like it, so I don't want to dump that on someone else. So that's why I'm actually at Home Depot, as I'm hoping this is going to be a little bit better of a quality of a mailbox than what I'd gotten before. We got a mailbox while I was there. I also remembered I wanted to pick some of these up. I couldn't decide whether I wanted to do the Ryobi, which will match all my tools. They have this thing called diamond grip bits. I don't know if those are any good or not. They weren't that expensive, but I usually like the DeWalt. DeWalt usually puts out a really good bit, so I usually like to get the DeWalt even though all my tools are green. But I figure if we can give the diamond grit a chance, I'll probably just use the DeWalts on this job because I'm familiar with those, and I know they're a good quality. But it's time to, well, prepare for the weather. So, hat on, we'll get some gloves on, and we'll go change out a mailbox. My idea of taking this was the idea that, I kind of have this cone to heat up and be able to work out of the back, so I can kind of get some heat if I'm having to work out of the back of the vehicle, was kind of the whole premise behind it. I don't know how well that's really going to work. Probably not very well, but that was just my line of thought. It's nice. It's sunny out. It's a nice warm 9 degrees Fahrenheit. Let's go replace a mailbox.
Hey kid, don't ever let them get inside your head. They'll tell you what to do in life instead of everything you know that you could get. Don't let them guide your life towards regret. I'll fight for what I love with every breath. My past is filled with things I won't forget. I use them all to push me to my best. So treat the worst of times just like a test. If only I could go back in time, I'd tell myself that everything will end up alright. Just push yourself, test yourself, figure out what you like, and find your limits, don't be rigid, always work towards a prime. Surround yourself with open minds, people can change your life. A few friends with intent can help you feel alive. Find a passion, take some action, and with a little time, just be patient, make a statement, try to enjoy your life. They'll try to kick you while you're down. They wanna rise up while you drown. They wanna fill your head with doubt. They're silently scared that you'll figure it out. I'll make it look like I'm losing, won't bother hiding my bruises. And when they finally think you're wounded.
In case you were wondering, right in here, there's the damage to the truck. You kind of pressed it in. You can see the paint cracking in here. And that's where the mailbox hit, right by the 4x4 tag. Okay, let's review the situation. So, sorry, I have a dog barking inside. Oh, so just shut the heater off. So, let's review the situation. Mailbox. Got crunched by my vehicle. I probably hit this corner right there on the tailgate where I was showing you before and just smashed it in. It's an older box. I believe this is a date code. I don't know how to read it, but they got a brand new shiny mailbox that isn't rusted up or anything. I'm sure they were upset when they first saw it. Hopefully they caught my email. Now, let's talk about the install a little bit and some of the issues that I had. So I got out there and the screws were not a Phillips bit, which I thought they were, but they weren't. They were straight blades. So I came prepared with this. This is just a little Amazon basic toolkit that I got with a bunch of different bits in it. I don't use anything other than the Phillips very frequently. So having a cheap set like this is perfectly fine for me because it's just when the oddball time when I need that different size bit. So I brought the Ryobi. I'm just in the Ryobi system, so that's what I used. I brought this. I actually brought a drill with me as well. And I was prepared because I knew how the mailbox was situated. In case that wouldn't fit in between the two mailboxes that were there, I picked this, or I brought this. I got this years ago. I never use it. It's very sparingly. It sits in my office. It's a nice kit that I wanted to pick up. And one thing I didn't notice that thought was in there, that isn't in there, are stubby screwdrivers. Now, fortunately, one of these were small enough to use that. As far as buying Phillips bits, I'm not too upset about that. I'll use these. I use these more than anything else. I saw the price on the mailbox. It was like $21. Let me ask you a question. Is Goodwill worth $21? Absolutely. Did I make money on that particular job? No. I lost money because of this. But this was my mistake. And that's kind of one of the factors you got to bring in is the cost of doing business. This is why insurance is important, guys and gals. This wouldn't have been an insurance claim. I mean, you saw the price of the box. It was $21. That wouldn't have covered a deductible. But what if I would have hit somebody's vehicle? What if I would have done some grander damage? What if I would have drove into someone's garage door? That would have enacted that deductible. That would have been worth having the insurance for. And not saying you're going to do that customer again after that, but they can't really speak too ill of you. And they can talk about how that you damaged this and that, but when you fixed it, when they were paid to fix it, whole different ballgame. Hit a neighbor's mailbox, contact the customer, and let them know so that they can either get your information to that neighbor so that you can get that fixed. Don't upset the neighbors because you don't want the neighbors thinking that you're garbage either because you want them as customers. In this case, this was a neighbor that I had done work for in the past, so I had his information, and I was able to send him an email saying, hey, I'm going to come out and fix it. He never responded back. That's just kind of how that neighbor is. He probably saw like, oh, okay, he probably was like really upset as I saw, oh, okay, we'll get it taken care of. So he's someone who trusts me. He's someone I've done business with in the past. So it's probably not going to be that big of a deal. Heard stories about people dumping customers because the plow guy took down the neighbor's mailbox or they, did whatever. Maybe took down their mailbox and they refused to make good on it. Just, go ahead. It didn't take long. It cost, I think maybe like $23 after tax or whatever for the mailbox. And yeah, I probably lost money on that job, but it still wasn't huge gobguster amounts of money. And when you're doing this, that's one of the things the factor is that, yeah, you might hit a mailbox. Are you going to factor that into the cost overall? I mean, you can do that. You know, you don't obviously want to go crazy with that kind of stuff, but yeah, you know, maybe charge an extra buck on your service or something to cover issues like this that may arise, so it doesn't necessarily eat away at what you want to be your profits. And if you don't have this, a lot more profit. But that's just something to kind of consider when you're doing your pricing as well, is kind of working that stuff in there. Now, in the 3 years that I've done this, this is the first incident that I've ever had, is this mailbox. Maybe I ought to like hang it on the wall or something as a reminder, you know, the screw up wall. This is the first incident that I've had in the 3 years that I've been plowing. I'm really careful when I do it. You got to be careful, and accidents can still happen. And when they happen, you just say, hey, you know, you make good on it if that ever kind of happens. And in that sense, well, I'll see you next time.